Hello fellow people persons, Nate for MMO Play, taking a break from the MMO experience with Lockdown Protocol. A surprisingly fun indie game from one-man venture FRACTiLE Games. I can't speak to the story, if there is one. Must have missed it somewhere along the very gory way, but the game opens up with you as a dude with a gun, locked in a claustrophobic corridor, and everything wants to kill you, including gravity, so there's the story. Lockdown Protocol is a fun platformer with some multiplayer potential, though during the time I reviewed the game, I wasn't able to find other people to play with. LP is small and pretty new, so that may account for the lack of hosted games, but the game is free with options to donate to the further development of this and other games, so grabbing friends and hosting a game yourself is always a possibility. My favorite feature, however, is easily the ability to construct and play your own levels or share them with others. The construction mode comes with the same assets used to build the campaign levels, and even allows you to light them the way you want with customized light maps, along with a range of traps, items, and enemies that can be placed along your user-made paths. But I'll go into that a little bit more later. Back to the core of the game, dying is quite fun, which I feel is especially necessary to point out, as you will probably be doing it quite a lot, especially if you're anything like myself. As someone who's never beaten a Mario game that wasn't an RPG, platformers are simply not a place where I excel. I had fun trying though, and the addition of combat mechanics brought me back to the very early days of games like Duke Nukem and Contra. Starting with the first, very brief tutorial stage, each one gets progressively harder. The further you go, new elements are introduced, including more difficult enemies, traps, and platform puzzles that must be traversed in order to obtain keycards that advance you in the level. There are checkpoints throughout the levels that prevent you from having to start from scratch if and when you die. However, the goal is to build and maintain as many points as possible by the end of the stage. Dying reduces your point total, so, while lives are technically infinite, completing a stage with efficiency requires careful gameplay to manage your score. Ideally, players must also complete the stages quickly, as the time spent in each stage factors into your total score. Stages quickly escalate in punishing factor, eventually taking on a very Abe's Odyssey feel, as you're frequently outgunned and required to hide and seek and cover in order to survive. Ammo is not infinite, and aiming can be difficult, especially if you're relying on weapons like the shotgun, which has a realistic spread, a disadvantage if you're at a respectable range. This means you can't just run through the stage spraying and praying, or risk ending up needing to rely on an inefficient gun, or worse, none at all. There is a measure of stealth to aid players though, and enemies will de-aggro after enough time is spent behind barrels or on their platforms, giving you their backs for a quick and decisive takedown. There's also shields that can be raised anywhere at any time. However, these shields come in the form of consumable items and are extremely scarce. They'll have to be saved for especially dangerous moments. Eventually, new and powerful enemies are introduced as the later game stages become more complex, dangerous, and far less forgiving. Flying and crawling aliens take advantage of blind spots and slow movement to take you out where your focus is diverted to platforming, and players will have to approach each stage quickly and carefully to survive. The element of replayability is in how often the game punishes you for your very bad choices, forcing completion of stages multiple times if one hopes to get the top score. Lockdown Protocol definitely favors gamers who enjoy a challenge, which might be a bit of a shock if you're used to having more direction. Stages offer very little in the way of guidance beyond the corridors you can travel through. However, these are often accompanied by various forks leading to additional hazards and danger. Each stage is a kind of puzzle, and each puzzle can be solved in a variety of ways. Stages will often bait players into moving in one direction, while hiding the safer path behind greater distances of travel, such as a series of platforms I ran across that led to where I was going, but at the cost of a hail of bullets from a turret. The further path required the defeat of more enemies, but allowed me to come up behind the turret and disable it, grabbing several power-ups along the way, far safer and stronger for it. There are some problems though, not the least of which is the lack of a health meter. While this could be seen by some as a kind of feature that adds to the game's difficulty, I felt the game was punishing enough without being able to monitor whether or not the health items I was picking, which tend to come in short supply, were being wasted. The targeting is also a little bit funky, using an odd hitbox system that seems unnecessary given the many side-scrollers I've played, even back in the Nintendo days, that kept it simple and effective. The targeting box issues are compounded by a dizzying camera that jumps when players change directions, making shootouts difficult and ill-advised, as the drawing camera can be hard on eyes and cause you to lose focus of your target. There are currently 26 pre-made stages in the single-player campaign, and afterward is the best time to introduce yourself to the customized stages aspect. The UI is not the most elegant, but I appreciate its simple nature and hope that if the developer adds more to this mode, they continue to rein in any unnecessary bells and whistles. Moving in and out of the asset menu is done with the keyboard presses that begin to feel like second nature over time, making creation of new stages very fast and easy. It reminds me a lot of my childhood creating stages on paper for friends to run through long before game development was ever allowed into the hands of the layman. I'm dating myself here, but whatever. There doesn't seem to be a limit on how big you can build a stage or how many elements you can place, allowing you to create gigantic douchey dungeon mode stages if you so choose for frenemies to run through and hate you for. And that's it for this review of Lockdown Protocol. Check it out with the link in the information below. Be sure to subscribe for more game reviews and let us know in the comments what you think of the game.